Ladies, gentlemen, and haradrim of all ages, you may be wondering how I got to here. And also here at level 92 with the same build. And today, I'm here to share with you all an absolute thing of beauty, taking the maximum advantage possible of two separate, absolutely broken parts of Season 2, one of which being Hemomancy, a vampiric power that pulses out damage once every 4 seconds, which Rogue has a uniquely fun way of maximizing the damage on, then also the interaction between Tibault's will and combo points, with the affix that increases maximum resource also increasing your combo points. And before you say anything about that being a bug, here's an interesting clip to consider from an interview with IGN done by Joseph Pipiora, the assistant game director.
So I think a really great, whether you're like a ball lightning build or like a 16 combo point rogue build, whatever crazy broken thing you've managed to put together for yourself this season, this is going to be the place to go to in order to get more power and to show off your skills.
Now, this doesn't mean that it isn't a bug. It clearly isn't really intended, but the assistant game director listing that off as something they want people to bring to the new abattoir of zero activity in December tells me one major thing. They don't plan on changing it anytime soon. Bug or not, they are committed to letting the season play out as is, which means as far as I'm concerned, this is Blizzard officially applying a stamp of approval to the usage of this interaction for as long as it's in the game. So let's make something absolutely silly powerful that combines the best parts of both Hemomancy and the combo points bug. Before we dive in, let's quickly talk about why Hemomancy is uniquely good for rogues. Yes, we have lower potential maximum health than most classes, so our base damage has a lower ceiling with it, but Rogue has a special and unique way to make Hemomancy a guaranteed crit, which then makes it scale with your crit damage and crit multiplier, whereas normally Hemomancy ignores any crit chance that you have. On top of that, we have things like the Impetus passive that increases the damage of your next skill after you move a certain distance, which interestingly does boost the damage of Hemomancy without even consuming the Impetus buff, making it double up really effectively. And it's worth noting that this build is not only extremely good for speed farming, I'd say that's where it excels, it's also good for one-shotting bosses if you change a couple of pieces, and it's also pretty good for pushing Nightmare tiers, even though, yes, the best thing it does is speed farming. As for the other side of things as well, you probably know the basis of it. Tibault's will boosts maximum combo points, which lets you scale damage and effects on core skills ridiculously well. Combine that with the Condemnation Dagger, which interestingly doesn't do quite as its text says either, and when you get a proc from that, it gives you maximum combo points no matter what that number actually is for you. So with all that said, let's dive into the build itself, the skill points and why I've chosen them to make this build what it is, the legendaries and uniques that make it truly shine, the affixes that you want on your gear itself, the vampiric powers that can boost all of this even further, and then of course the Paragon board setup too. Then we'll just go over how to play around this unique build and make the most out of it in combat. First then, let's talk skill points. For your basic skill, we're going with Puncture, which is pretty normal, and we also grab Enhanced Puncture and then Fundamental Puncture, which makes Puncture split into 3 blades, thrown in a cone, and apply vulnerable if 2 of them hit the same enemy. The Split Conal Throw, plus the fact that this is just the highest attack speed basic skill that Rogue has, makes it combo really well for fishing with Condemnation for combo point procs. Then for our core skill, we're going with Rapid Fire and nothing else. Yes, normally the best Rapid Fire builds are dual core builds where they're paired with something else because Rapid Fire isn't the best group clearing skill, but that's the beauty of this build. Hemomancy hard carries group clearing the way that we build, to the point that in content even 10-15 levels above you, it will one-shot every group of mobs that you run past the second that you activate it. And so our actual active skills are all either focused on single target damage to make that explosive too, or just general damage bonuses that also affect Hemomancy. Rapid Fire then is our strongest option for single target focus, especially because of the Tibault's will interaction where you can have up to like 22 combo points, and every combo point on Rapid Fire increases the number of arrows fired, as well as the damage of each individual arrow. Then we have Enhanced Rapid Fire as well, which makes it so every arrow that's fired from Rapid Fire has an increased crit chance, which of course scales with all of our crazy amounts of bonus arrows from the combo points, and a lot of crit damage that we focus on in the build. Then we take Improved Rapid Fire as well, which makes it so that anytime that you hit an enemy that is vulnerable with Rapid Fire, you gain 15 energy back, which just makes it so that you don't have to worry about your energy, of course. Essentially, we just want to make sure that anytime that we have a Condemnation proc and we get max combo points, we also have maximum energy so that our Rapid Fire does the maximum damage. This helps smooth it out. If you are going to instead go full one-shot mode, you can use Advanced Rapid Fire instead for an extra crit damage multiplier for a few seconds after evading. Personally, I find Improved better for dungeon pushing and Advanced better for full single target boss farming type things. Then we're just going to be taking 3 ranks of Sturdy for 12% damage reduction from close enemies. Tankiness is important. This build already does crazy damage as it is, so we just need a bit more defensive. Then moving on to the Agility cluster, we're going to be grabbing Shadow Step, both as a movement tool and a method of getting unstoppable, which will actually trigger Tibault's will. Enhanced Shadow Step as well gives you heightened crit chance on an enemy for a few seconds after you hit them with it, and then Disciplined Shadow Step reduces the cooldown by 3 seconds if you use this on an enemy that hasn't been hit by it in the last 4 seconds, which makes it great for just moving around speedily. Then we're also going to be grabbing 3 ranks of the Weapon Mastery passive. Most often you'll be running a bow with this, so this is a nice boost to your vulnerable damage, but on some occasions you will also run crossbow, and the crit damage is lovely there too. After that, we're going on to our Subterfuge skills and picking up Smoke Grenade as an ability. This dazes enemies hit for a few seconds, but the enhancement then makes enemies in the radius also take 25% increased damage from you for the duration, which makes it incredible for burst damage that is creating boss one-shots. Then we're also going to be grabbing Countering Smoke Grenade, which gives you 25% lucky hit chance to reduce the cooldown of the skill, which is incredible if you happen to not have the stats to one-shot it quite yet. Then we're going to be grabbing some passives here, 3 ranks of Exploit for bonus damage to both healthy and injured enemies, as well as 3 ranks of Malice for bonus damage to vulnerable enemies too. Moving on to our imbuements, then this is a fun combo. Yes, I know I said that our skills were mostly focused on single target, and that is still true, but we're taking full ranks of Shadow Imbuement. This makes enemies hit blow up when killed or just after a set amount of time if they are still alive. Then we get Enhanced Shadow Imbuement, which gives you bonus crit chance on affected enemies that are injured. Then we take Mixed Shadow Imbuement as well, which makes affected enemies take 12% bonus damage from non-physical effects, and the main reason for that is Poison Imbuement, which we take 5 ranks of over here. Essentially, it just helps build our one-shot combo by making Poison Imbuement even stronger than it already is. Then we're also going to be grabbing Enhanced Poison Imbuement for a lovely bit of bonus duration on the poison itself, as well as Blended Poison Imbuement, which gives you a 75% increase to the poisoning damage dealt if you crit with a poison imbued skill. Then we're going to be grabbing 2 ranks of Deadly Venom for 6% increased poison damage, as well as 3 ranks of Debilitating Toxins to reduce damage taken from poisoned enemies by 15%. After that, we take 3 ranks of Precision Imbuement for 9% bonus crit chance with imbued skills, which is great for pretty obvious reasons. After that, then we move to the Ultimate Node cluster, where we'll only be grabbing passives, taking 1 rank of Adrenaline Rush, mostly just as a gateway to get 3 ranks of Haste for bonus attack speed when energy is low, and bonus movement speed when energy is high, as well as 3 ranks of Impetus, as well as the bonus that I have for my amulet, which is a nice one to have it on for this, specifically for this playstyle, because this boosts the damage of your next skill after you move far enough. This affects Hemomancy for some reason, without even a moving buff, and it also helps your boss and elite one-shotting ability too by giving you an even bigger burst when you activate it. Then finally we have our key passive, and here we're going to be using Precision. Marksman skill crits grant precision at maximum stacks. Your next marksman skill is a guaranteed crit that deals 40% increased damage, again fantastic for boss one-shots, but also synergizing a bit with a specific unique, which brings us out of here into our next section, which is the Legendaries and Uniques, and the one that I'm referring to first is Skyhunter, the unique bow. The first direct damage that you deal to an enemy is a guaranteed crit. That line right there is the crux of the Hemomancy part of this build. Hemomancy travels faster than any ranged attack that we have, which means that it will guaranteed be the first hit on an enemy on your screen. You can use this with crit damage and life stacking to get the damage up to 140k or even higher, and I'm not even level 100, and my Paragon board is not fully completed out as a result. And that's enough to wipe level 110, 115 small enemies off the screen in one hit, even most 125 little guys lesser than elites, with only the tankier trash remaining, which is easily dealt with by a single rapid fire. And the second part is if you have the full precision stacks when you cast a core skill, it gets even more bonus crit damage and refunds some energy too. We also of course have Tibault's Will. When you are unstoppable and for a few seconds afterwards, you gain up to 40% bonus damage as a multiplier. These pants are busted strong for almost every class and build in the game, but they're even stronger on Rogue because the bonus maximum resource affix affects Rogue combo points for some reason, letting you have a bunch of bonus combo points. I don't really know why. If you are wondering though, in this specific build, because Hemomancy is affected by the unique effect, technically a high roll on the effect itself with a mid roll on the maximum resource is better than a high roll on the maximum resource with a mid roll on the effect. It just works out being better mathematically because it's almost equal to lose the combo points and gain the extra damage from the effect, and Hemomancy of course only gains from the effect, which makes it even better. This is just for if you have multiple pairs of these pants to choose between. Then we're also going to be using Condemnation, the dagger, as the final part of this main combo, giving up to 40% bonus damage to skills cast with maximum combo points, and giving basic skills a 30% chance to give you max combo points, which is just beautiful for this, obviously. Then we also do use one more unique, the Grasp of Shadow gloves. These have attack speed as an affix, which is already good, but it can also be upgraded to give you plus 6 ranks to all core skills, which is incredibly high value even compared to a normal pair of gloves with 4 ranks of a skill and a little more affix control. Then the bonus effect of summoning a shadow clone to double up your core skills occasionally obviously synergizes nicely with our single target goals too. Then for our legendaries on our amulet, we have the Edgemasters aspect for up to 30% bonus damage depending on how much of your maximum resource that you have at the time. It's worth noting here that the only 2 changes necessary for this to be the boss killing version of the build are taking off the Skyhunter weapon, as Hemomancy doesn't need to crit in single target, moving Edgemaster to the weapon slot for a higher bonus. Then you want to put on the Banished Lord's Talisman Unique. The trick to this is to just spend energy on your way to the boss fight so that you have the proc ready to go when the boss spawns. You get a guaranteed overpower, get a crit because of our general crit chance, and the rising crit chance from our broken combo point rapid fire, which guarantees that special bonus of up to 120% multiplier on an overpower that is also a crit, and that's the main combo for the big one-shots like Uber Lilith. But even without swapping items around, this thing still one-shots dungeon bosses no problem. Aside from that, we have the expectant aspect for 30% bonus damage with the core skill after you cast basic skills 3 times. This happens pretty naturally for us as we want to proc Condemnation before each core skill cast, which is a 30% chance anyways. We also have the aspect of repeating, which makes rapid fire have a pretty decently high lucky hit chance to ricochet with each arrow, which can cause some silly shenanigans in this build with the amount of arrows it fires. Essentially, this is just here for things like packs of 3 elites that hemomancy doesn't quite kill, so use imbuement, rapid fire, it bounces around them, and they evaporate. Then on our other weapon, we have corruption for 40% increased imbuement potency to back up the last thing that I said, just to boost our single target up some more as well too. Then on our boots, we have the Mangler's aspect. This just gives us a nice lucky hit days application chance. We've also got the aspect of Might 2, defensively speaking, for 20% damage reduction after casting a basic skill, which we are constantly doing. Then we finally have the aspect of Disobedience to give us just a nice big armor boost in any prolonged fight that we could happen to find ourselves in. As far as the actual stats on gear then, ranks of imbuement and helpful passives are very important. Crit damage is extremely solid, especially in this build. Vulnerable damage, attack speed, physical damage boost, close or distant damage boost both have advantages depending on whether you want to boost rapid fire or hemomancy, but most importantly, offensively is actually something that's normally defensive, which is bonus maximum life. With our setup of uniques, you have a helm, chest, and both rings that can roll this affix, and you want a high roll of it on all of those items on a high item power version of those slots, as maximum life directly translates to more hemomancy damage. Total armor percent is also incredibly important to help with your physical damage reductions, as are getting your resistances to 70% maximum, which you can do quite easily with the space that we have here. It makes it quite work. Moving on from there, then we have our Vampiric Powers, and here we of course have Hemomancy. This pops for 80% of your maximum life as physical damage and a massive screen clearing radius once every 4 seconds. It also heals you for 1% for each enemy hit just as a bonus. Then we also have Ravenous, which gives you lucky hit chance to increase attack speed by a percentage of your total movement speed. This gives us a ton of attack speed when it does activate, which just gives us faster combo point generation and thus more frequent massive rapid fire bursts. As well, this makes Undying as a vampiric power incredibly strong too. High attack speed with a 3% life heal every time that you attack is obviously quite nuts. Then we have Prey on the Weak for bonus damage to vulnerable enemies, as well as making any enemy that is cursed also count as vulnerable. And then finally we have Metamorphosis, which turns your evade into a bat dash, applying vampiric curse to everything that you pass through and turning you unstoppable for 4 seconds, activating Tibault's will as well. With that covered then, let's talk about the final piece of the puzzle, the Paragon board setup. On your starting board, you want to head up the left side through the bonus resistance and bonus life rare nodes, then wrap around back to the other side and grab the rare and magic damage and life increase nodes as well that are on this side of the board. After that, you want to get to the glyph socket itself and stick in the Ranger glyph here. This boosts your damage with ranged weapons as well as giving you bonus damage reduction while you are holding them. You want to grab all the dexterity in the radius as well as the remaining rare nodes here too. Then you want to head up the left side to get to the exit and stick on the Tools of the Trade board with the legendary power in the bottom right corner. Head up and right to get some more bonus maximum life nodes to boost Hemomancy even more, then wrap up to get the legendary node itself, which gives your marksman skills 25% bonus damage as a multiplier once they're used after using a cutthroat skill. This is mostly for our one-shot combo, as Shadow Step is a cutthroat skill, Rapid Fire is a marksman skill. Then we go back around and head through the rare node to the glyph socket itself so that we can stick in the chip glyph here for bonus physical damage, affecting both of our main damage sources. This also makes physical damage increase your physical damage done as a stacking buff against an enemy, which does in fact stack with each individual arrow from Rapid Fire. Then we grab all of the dexterity in the radius as well as the other rare and magic nodes of relevance too. We take a short detour to the top left to grab the Havoc rare nodes, which gives you increased critical strike and physical damage, and we also grab the magic nodes around that at least as much as we can before exiting out the left side of the board to attach on the No Witnesses board with the glyph socket on the right side. You want to progress immediately over and up to get to the glyph socket itself, which is going to be Efficacy. This gives you a bonus to rare nodes in the radius as well as bonus imbuement skill potency by a pretty decent amount. Then you want to grab the rare nodes in the radius and just enough intelligence to activate the bonus effect, and it's worth mentioning that one of the rare nodes in here, as well as the magic nodes too, are bonus maximum life, which makes this a perfect place to have Efficacy, as that means that it increases the bonus maximum life that you get from this node as well, even further boosting our Hemomancy of course. Then we move back to the Tricks of the Trade board and exit out the top side this time to attach the Cheap Shop board with the legendary power on the bottom side. You want to head up and left to get to this rare magic node cluster and then wrap around of course to get to the legendary node itself, which is Cheap Shot. You deal 5% increased damage for each nearby enemy that is crowd controlled up to 25%. Because of Hemomancy, we kill all tiny things near instantly, so this doesn't really work in general group clearing, but it helps for elites more than anything because there's more than one of them. Then we head up and over to the glyph socket itself, and we stick in the exploit glyph here for bonus damage to vulnerable enemies, and the additional bonus that the first damage that you do to an enemy makes them vulnerable for 3 seconds too. We have constant vulnerable procs, so that part doesn't really matter, but the extra damage is really nice. As well, then we grab all the strength within the radius, as well as the rare and relevant magic nodes. After that, you head out the left side of the board to attach on our final board, which is exploit weakness, with the legendary power and glyph socket in the top left side. This sounds a little bit weird. This is where we get a bit funky in our progress, but trust me, it's worth it because it gets us even more bonus maximum life on this side of the board, which is why we approach from this side, because who doesn't want more maximum life? We could always use more maximum life. It boosts our tankiness, and more importantly, it boosts the damage of hemomancy. After that, you want to wrap around and get to the legendary node itself, which makes it so whenever you deal damage to a vulnerable enemy, they get a stacking debuff that increases the damage you do to them up to a 15% multiplier, and that is pretty strong. Then you want to wrap up here through the rare and magic nodes, increase your damage to elites and things like that, and then go over to the glyph socket itself, and in this one we put in something very important for this build, the combat glyph for absolutely massive critical damage increase. Then you want to fill out all of your intelligence in the radius as well as much as possible, and get the rare node on the left with your final points too. This results in a crazy amount of bonus maximum life without sacrificing much of the normal goodness that you'd aim for here, which actually makes it perfect for this build. That's it for how to put all this together then, so how about actually playing it? Well, first up, it's worth noting the existence of the maximum life increasing incense, and also the percentage max life increase elixir, both of which make this even stronger if you have them, so keep those around for tougher content. As well, it should be mentioned, if you are one of the lucky souls who happens to have the Doombringer sword, the percentage maximum life affix on the sword might as well say hemomancy damage percent, so yes, it is actually exceedingly good if you happen to have it. As far as playing then, the plan is simple. Enter a room of enemies, dash to activate Tibault's will, throw a puncture to trigger hemomancy. If everything dies, move to the next room and repeat. If it doesn't die, shadow imbuement rapid fire with full combo points. If that still somehow doesn't do it, poison imbuement rapid fire with full combo points. As far as how to engage a single target encounter that you expect, like a dungeon boss or even an uber boss of some sort, you want to activate as many of your bonuses as possible before engaging, such as stacking up your combo points before starting so you're already at max. Then you want to hit shadow imbuement before you start. Open by using shadow step for bonus crit chance, as well as activating Tibault's will and applying shadow imbuement to increase the incoming poison damage. Hit smoke grenade to activate the bonus damage multiplier from that, then poison imbuement and rapid fire the boss in the face. If they're still alive after that, generate combo points, rapid fire again, and if they somehow are still living even after that, you just repeat the process as your cooldowns come back. We built this so that it doesn't have to just rely on that one-shot trick, but does do just ridiculous damage with it, so that you can just actually have a full-on fight with this if a boss happens to be above your stat scaling level. But that should never really happen if you actually have the stats right. And that just about does it then, everyone. A build that I am extremely happy with, that I'm going to be calling the Hemo Goblin build, because, you know, hemoglobin, hemomancy, but you're being a little goblin running around using silly little interactions that probably shouldn't exist. Just destroy the whole game, and that's fun. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you enjoy using this build for yourself too if you choose to do so. It's just a crazy power fantasy to feel compared to most other builds in the game, so I definitely recommend at least giving it a shot if you're already playing Rogue. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.